Hi, so welcome everyone. So today we're going to do Bernie and Yang. So I'm using Yang as a benchmark because I quite like what he's done. Love the picture with the him and the people and the way everything just stands out. It complements each other. The colors are great. And I couldn't think of a better website. So I'm using this as a benchmark, and we're going to compare, and hopefully we can use it as kind of an aid to help us understand both candidates. So I'm going to start here with Bernie. He's made it about the people. He's showing animation of himself. It's quite a nice touch, like to have those effects. I've reviewed Biden and Yang, and their websites don't have this animation, so it's a nice touch. Like especially it's showing you with him and the people, and the most important part going, not me, us. No one candidate, not even the greatest candidate you can imagine. Well, let's use our imagination, but while we're at it, let's continue. Is capable of taking on Donald Trump and the billionaire class alone. There is only one way we win, and that is together. So it's nice, nice way to unite the people. And then he's got, that to add your address and zip code. The donation button's quite discreet. He's not making he's not putting it in your face, which we saw of Biden, like the whole row was asking for donations. He's done what kind of similar to Yang. Like Yang has just put a button up here. So when you open a page, that's not the immediate thing coming at you. It's about the people, it's about the unity, and we kind of see this here, so it's not too bad. Um, like in terms of it's a really nice made website. But if I compare the two, like this one definitely has a bit more of a nicer effect. This one, I like it, but there's something missing for me. Like maybe it's the colors; they don't just quite, something not quite. Like it doesn't feel right. It just can't. Maybe it's like that color, that shoe that you have on the screen. Like it would be nicer if it was a blue color. But maybe other people like it. Maybe you like it. But it seems a bit weird to me. I like this, paid for by Bernie, not the billionaires. So, is this a war against billionaires? Are billionaires the problem? They do, have a lot of businesses, they do hire a lot of people, but at the same time they do hoard a large percentage of the wealth. So, you know, maybe we have a war, maybe we don't. But I guess he's wanting to say, it's not paid for by billionaires, so we don't have special interests. And his very first tab is volunteer, where most candidates actually talk about themselves. So the volunteer, he's broken it up. He's got the different duties that he would love for you to help with. And kind of Yang has the same thing, like with the with Biden's website. It didn't quite have that. It was more just like it was quite a general kind of information form, whereas I do like the touch where they've gone through each one and in the jobs they need. So if you want to help, you at least know where you're helping. As Bernie goes, he's got a burn app, so that's a unique touch to talk to friends and neighbors, host an event, attend an event, knock on doors, make calls, send text messages. Yeah, so Yang's relatively similar, but he doesn't have an app. Funny that Bernie has an app, but the tech guy doesn't have an app. So, an interesting one. What else have we got? Yeah, so in general, like, I like how they've broken it down and not made it just a general fill-in form, saying, oh, you want to help, then just fill in the form and we may let you know. So it's not too bad. And then he's got the issues, which in essence is like policies. Like, I don't know, do you prefer someone to label something policies, or do you prefer it to be labeled issues? Because like, if you label something issues, you're labeling a problem. But if you label policies, it's like how you're gonna fix them. And then, we've looked at this before in the previous Biden and Yang video, and it's like UBI. It has three main policies. It's in its way, it's a nice touch to know, to say what's most important to you. Whereas a lot of candidates like to make it a general thing. It's like we cover all issues, and we don't know what's the most important one to you. But like we're gonna assume that the top ones are the most important, like healthcare for all. Like that's generally quite important. Bernie has talked about that quite a lot. Um, and he talks about the statistics, what's happening. And then on the bottom, those are his solutions, like allow Medicaid to negotiate with the big drug companies to lower prescription drug prices. So like maybe that might help, but there's no guarantees. It's allow patients, pharmacists, and wholesalers to buy low-priced prescription drugs from Canada. So that's a possible solution. If you go, Canada's got cheap drugs, and if we allow each other to be able to buy off Canadians, perhaps it actually allows it benefits a lot of Americans. And then cut prescription drug prices in half. Um, so I don't know if that's something that you can really get involved in, but I guess if you're pegging the prices, perhaps it does have an effect. But like usually, if you take away the profits in one area, are they going to come back and bite you in another area, or is it all in general? It's good for everyone, It's a law that's gonna. It's kind of like the minimum wage. When the minimum wage goes up, it has an effect of increasing all goods and services around it. So if you start pegging the prescription drug prices, um, is is there something that comes along that's it makes people try to find profit in another area? So but they are solutions. So I think instead of just calling them issues, it might be it might be better to label it in a different way. Like I see it as like when you label something as issues, it's very negative. Like we've got issues, and like here are ways we might fix it. So it's all right, and in Medicare for all. And it's very similar. Andrew Yang has talked about a bit about the problem, and in the Affordable Care Act was a step in the right direction. So he's looking at what is being done right. And then access to medicine isn't guaranteed to all citizens. However, it didn't address the fundamental issues. Okay, so like Yang's looked at the issues as well. So funny thing, how Yang's looked at the issues, Bernie's looked at the issues, and Yang's labeled it policy, Bernie's labeled it issues. So access to medicine wasn't guaranteed to all citizens. The incentives for healthcare providers don't align with providing quality, efficient care. They must change. Yes, but how will they change? Okay, problems to be solved. Millions of Americans without healthcare. Okay, yep, so there's still the issues. Yes, so we've got the goals. Holistic healthcare for all Americans. Bend the cost curve of healthcare down. Okay, just focus on preventative and holistic care. Change the incentive structure for doctors. Alright, so maybe, like if you can identify that there is a problem with the incentive structures, which there can be, like a lot of doctors do receive a lot of incentives from drug companies when they push certain drugs. So, like in terms of like opioids and all that, that's a possible way to change it. so let's see. That's a bit more about, the background of everything. So in a sense, Yang's proposal is changing these incentives are key. So that's, in a sense, his proposal. If he was elected, he would change all the acts to stop incentives. Yeah, so in a way, it's not like, I guess it's like, it's not like a step by step, but I think it's probably clear enough that you would understand. But I'd probably like want to see like what the actual, how would you cut the incentives? Because at the end of the day, drug companies will approach doctors. Are you going to say, if you're a doctor, you cannot accept incentives or something like that? So that one's, it's not entirely clear cut how you would solve it. And then yeah, so I guess, like, it's fairly balanced between how Bernie might address something and also how Yang might address something in terms of their Medicare. But like, they're all right so far. And then college for all and cancel all student debt. So I don't know about this one. Like, if you cancel all student debt, I mean, it helps a lot of people in the current situation, because a lot of people who studied, they probably did it for, I imagine a lot did it for the right reasons, but the general thing with America is education is quite expensive, and you're faced with a tough decision whether you want to pursue your dreams and chase the profession, or go do a profession that might not be you, and like, you don't incur the fees. So I can see why, like, you would want to help them out, because that debt is very crippling to a lot of people. But regarding, like, I think Bernie says, he might want to make it, yeah, like reducing the cost. So, and yeah, like, I think he wants to cancel debt and possibly make college debt free for all. So I don't know about making it entirely free. If you make college entirely free, does it's giving away the wrong incentives again. Like, if you notice that, the healthcare system has wrong incentives, then the education system also might be giving the wrong incentives when you give people free education. So it depends. Like, you don't want to encourage people to just go and study for the sake of it. And Andrew Yang probably makes a really good point about this. We'll try to find education policy. He does have a ton of policies, so might not be able to find it immediately. It's a bit like, where's Wally, Where's the education policy, Yang? So, like, could this be, like, sorted in a better way? Quite possibly. Like, I'm sure there's categories you can sort this in, rather than just labeling them like this. It's in a way, it's a little bit messy, because if you're someone who, doesn't want to spend a lot of time, but you want to go, hey, where can I find a policy that I'm trying to, find, I'm trying to make a decision about a candidate, and it's between you and maybe, Sanders, and I want to go, what, what's your policy? And then I can't find it. So you're kind of wanting everyone to look through it. I'd say either do it alphabetical order, or do it in a category and label a category. So that could probably be done a little bit better. But that's all right. I think maybe it's good to go through all the policies. So Yang's solution is controlling the costs of higher education. So I think I'd be more in the favor of controlling the cost of higher education, because if you control the costs, it helps everyone out. Rather than saying, we're gonna cancel your debt and make it, in a sense, free. If you make it free, then you're sending the wrong kind of message. Because, like, if you didn't know what to do in life and you just went and studied, and then you just did something that had no relevance, rather than because you thought, oh, I'll just do it because everyone else is doing it, it doesn't make you think hard enough, you know. So it's, I think at the end of the day, like, there should be some cost involved so that you do take the decision quite serious. And maybe if you know if you do well, maybe it does have an incentive. Like, but at the end of the day, like, if you study a qualification and you do well, chances are you're going to get a good job in the first place, and you're going to be able to pay it down. The problem right now is, yeah, like, most people incur too much debt that they can't pay it down. So if the costs were controlled, it's a nice easy way that you're not interrupting the system too heavily, is you don't want, like, a ton of people with qualifications just coming out and all of a sudden they're competing with each other and they're not going to be able to find jobs. So you only want people who are very sincere heading into that direction. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you'll be like, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you make something free, like, people are going to love it. But if you make something free, you're going to do it at the expense of something else. So more or less that's generally just my view. But regardless of policies, those are just examples of what Sanders is going for and what Yang is going for. But overall, I do like how many areas they've addressed, much more than Biden, like double more than Biden, triple even, or quadruple. And he's gone very similar with Yang, so that's why, like, Yang and Sanders are in a sense my two favorite candidates out of the Democratic pool, because they've got quite a lot of policies, um, and they are willing they're willing to make it clear what they stand for. So one thing that I find that's missing is where, like, Andrew Yang has Andrew's story, but not Biden, Bernie doesn't have anything about himself. So it'd be nice touch to be able to see a bit about Bernie. Like, even though, there'll be a lot of information on the internet, it'll be nice to have a nice written biography, just a short biography for people that don't know who you are, Bernie. Um, it's important. Like, who are you? Who are your family? What do they think of you? What do you think of the job? Why do you want to do this? It's nice to have, to really understand the person that you're wanting to lead the country. And you may not be doing yourself a favor by leaving that out. Even though, you're saying not me, us. So, like, if it's not you, then why do people want you? Like, why not just go for a different candidate? Because if they go for a different candidate, it's still us. But do they really need you, Bernie? So, I think in a sense, it's nice to put a story to say, this is what I stand for. This is me. As president, my first priority will be to implement universal basic income for every American. Something like this that tells you why you believe what you believe. But he's already been through a campaign. Maybe people will understand him from that. So he's got his event tab. Um, Quite a nice touch. It's got all the different parts. I imagine these are all events, which is a lot of events. So it's really, it's really traveling a lot and planning very ahead, very organized. And it's nice to see he's hitting the whole, well, country in a sense, from one side to the other. And Andrew Yang does have an event page. It's just sadly not listed. Yeah, it's just sadly not listed here. Okay, and maybe I've got the link wrong as well. But yeah, as I mentioned in the other video, it would be lovely if he includes a event link up here. It'd make it so much easier because I cannot find it. But someone did mention that there is an event page, but yes, currently cannot access it for some reason. Alright, but anyway, we can move on, and hopefully I'll find you the event page for a Yang in the next video, because there's going to be at least a couple of more of these. It's nice to compare the candidates. And let's go. Alright, so he's done what Biden's also done, and he's translated the page to Spanish. So it seems to be quite a thing. Like, as you saw in the debate, some candidates spoke Spanish, and having Spanish on the website as well. Well, Bernie didn't speak Spanish in the debate, but I guess with this website, I guess it can be quite helpful. Whereas Yang doesn't have the language tab, so that's one thing, I guess, that's working with Bernie. Let's see. Alright, so I do like the t-shirt. Like, I think these kind of messages, like, I mean, the name's good, but just keep it on one part. But, if you have messages on your t-shirts, it's like really nice advertising. If you just advertise names do not necessarily, make the biggest impression. Whereas college for all, Medicare for all, jobs for all, I don't think Yang has that. Whereas if he had $1,000 a month for all, like something like that, where he writes his most important policy on a t-shirt, and then someone questions that, oh, it's $1,000, who's giving that out? They look on the shirt and it says Yang, and then they go to the website and they keep looking. Bernie's got the right idea. Medicare for all. So I do love the t-shirts. Feel the burn, like that would be merchandise that you'd buy. And then it doesn't put everything in a political way. You're showing what you're going for. Usually, if you just have the one word, people think that you're in love with the candidate. But then they go, do you know their policies? And that's the thing. If you wore a t-shirt that said Medicare for all, that well could be, I guess like it really lets people know what you want, what you stand for. And then he's selling his book too. So Yang hasn't put his book on there either. So the fact that Bernie's put his book here, mind you, it could also mean that he's profiting from it as well, because Bernie's been making over $1 million a year on his books, which is quite a fair bit. But I do love the merchandise store in this, so that's one thing that Bernie's doing a bit better. He's got the event tab, got the Spanish. As much as I think, but I think the design part goes to Yang. The design of the website is absolutely beautiful. He's got the story part. He's written his things in policy. I like the wording more. Yeah, so, and I don't like the fact that Bernie doesn't have, he doesn't have a story about him. Like, I prefer that in terms of what's involved with your website. That's part of why people come to a website, to understand you. So it's a very tough decision who's got the better website. I'm gonna say like Bernie does half of it really well, and also Yang does half of it really well. Like literally, these are two websites that if you combined would make the perfect website, but they're both lacking in areas. And if you look at Bernie's website and you look at Yang's website, you contrast the difference, you actually know what's missing on both websites, which is like kind of strange in a way. So it's like that's quite good reflective thinking that they have for their websites that they can do. Let me know what you think. For me, I'd say like there's too much like missing on both sides in terms of what like there's a lot of good stuff happening. But there's also like some key parts that I'd love to see in terms of changes. So it's not just a website thing. It's about the content on there as well and how you engage everyone. So I'm gonna say this one's a very close one to call. So I'm just gonna call this a draw. Yeah, I think it's too close to call because both are doing something great, but both websites are also missing a few key things. And in terms of merit, I'd say both are good. Um, Probably, I'd say Bernie was still edging out Biden in terms of the website. Like Biden website design is a bit better, but I'd say overall Bernie does have a bit more than Biden's website. But can I say it's better than Yang's? I probably won't say it's better than Yang's, and I can't say that Yang's is entirely better than Bernie either. So I'm gonna let you decide. You're the people. What do you think? Um, yeah, so I think I'm just gonna call this a stalemate, and then see what the other sites are like. Maybe after a while, I'll see the other sites, and then I'll have a bit more of an understanding what makes the best website. But for now, I can call a winner. But yeah, no, feel free to let me know what you think. Thanks for the time. This one's gone on for a bit longer than I expected. I actually thought this was going to be shorter because Bernie didn't have the story page. But I think it's made it actually quite interesting. So yeah, thanks for the time and like and subscribe.